You ready? In 5, 4. Hello, hello in UK Health Radio Land. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
Bill McKenna. So I want to share with you guys something that happened to me yesterday. And it is the tiniest thing. And it really showed me something quite bigger. Something I already knew. It's like, duh, like you get knocked on the forehead. But yesterday, I moved a side table in my bedroom 4 inches. I literally moved it from right next to the bed, 4 inches over at an angle in the corner. Now, when I moved it so that I could get something that was behind, plugged in, like under the bed and behind, I stood up and looked, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so much better. It looks better. There's way more room, and it's way more functional. It was 4 inches. And as I walked in and out of the room all day, I'm like, man, everything just feels more spacious. It really looks so much better in here. How is it that such a tiny shift created such a big change? And Bill and I, in the work that we created with Cognomovement, by the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, go to cognomovement.com. It is about the most massive kinds of perspective shifts that don't just happen in a room or in your mind, but happen in your body, change who you are as a human, because it changes radically your automatic responses, how you feel, and what you actually see. And it also changes your reality, the reality that you experience. Yesterday, I had a new reality that shifted by 4 inches. When I shifted that 4 inches yesterday, it opened my mind to all kinds of amazing new ideas, which I love. That's the space I like to be in. So, Bill McKenna, 4-inch perspective shift. How can it change your entire life?
I will, as you're speaking this, I'm like, this 4-inch shift didn't happen yesterday. Physically, it happened yesterday. But the work that you've done neurologically made it available. So this is a very interesting thing that I've been witnessing, where people have neurological connections. Their brain functions literally differently. And with that, all kinds of new ideas come to them, and that are very practical in life, very, very practical things in business, in relationship, in what they want, what they don't want anymore in their life. And it becomes like where we all kind of accept our lives, as the Irish say, your lot in life. This is my lot in life, this is my burden, this is my curse, whatever be the case, but it's natural, and you almost accept it as, this is just life as it is, accept it.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing, as natural as breathing, that all of a sudden, unexpectedly, you're like, oh, wait a second, I could do things different. I have this opportunity over here. Why did I think I was stuck? I just do it this way. And like that, it's over. Or something very practical, like, you know what? Why the heck is my nightstand here? This is so, why didn't I? Why?
Well, let's talk about that. So what holds us in place, what holds us in place is our individuation. We individuate. It's our things. It's this way. It's my experience. This is where everything goes in my life. These are the way people act in my life. And we pinch down into this very specific individuation and specific point of view, perspective. It has to do with the tension in the body, the focused vision, what we literally look at, and what we don't. So yesterday, one of the big things I realized, and I want to make this really practical for everyone, is that my end table was actually creating tension in my life and in my body. I didn't realize it. There was something about the placement of it that was irritating every time I walked in the room since I put it there. There was something about my body that knew that it could be different. I just didn't know how. And I was insisting on that place. Not really, not with my logical mind, but it seemed like the only place it could go. It almost fully filled up the space. It wasn't like I could pull it 4 inches away from the wall. It didn't make any sense to turn it all the way the opposite way. It was aimed out equal with the bed. Like my focused vision was holding it in place, and it was making tension in my body. And if we think about all the things that won't move in our life, they create this kind of a tension in our body and in our lives. And we keep looking at it in exactly the same way. So by accident yesterday, I moved it at an angle. And that new angle was available. It was available the whole time. But because my room is individuated as me, I could only see it in that position. I could only see it there because I hadn't let go of my own things, you know, all the things that make me up in our bedroom, my husband and my bedroom, until it changed. And that 4 inches was always available. It was always there. So it brings up the question, what is 4 inches out of your vision that you're not looking at? And this made me think of you, Bill. It made me think of one of your mentors, Bert Goldman, and his story about becoming a photographer. He went down to the water. He wanted to become a photographer. And he got the information, the idea, the download, to take pictures all the way from left to right, right to left, continually, right? Now, that was always available. I mean, when you think about it, you're like, yeah, duh, that makes all the sense in the world. But for him and most of us, you look through a camera, and whatever's directly in front of you, you take a picture. Mm-hmm. But in that first set of pictures, how far did Bert Goldman move? Probably 4 inches to the left and 4 inches to the right. You know, trying it out.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. It is. It's just, that literal same thing, just open to, okay, do it a different way. He had his own techniques of being able to access that and those new perspectives. But this really is an amazing thing, and it dovetails perfectly with the level of a human's intellect. Now, when I say intellect, I am encompassing both our logic skills and our creative skills and our relationship skills, all of those things. And what it is our perspective, as if you will think about the people that you may be considered not very bright. Everybody knows somebody that they're like, not so bright, not so bright. And the thing about them is they all have the same thing in common. They can't change their mind. They can't change their perspective. They have another way of looking at this is they have a neurological circuit that is literally hardwired and firing over and over in the same way. Now, typically these firings, will, where it's somewhat benign, it'll be like, I can't move my nightstand. There's no other possibility to, to something more serious, like, hey, there was a woman I ran into in an elevator at a hospital, and she had the white and red cane. The white and red cane, she was blind, and she was, tick tock in, and so the door closes, and there I am with this woman in the elevator. And it just so coincidentally happened a few weeks prior, I had witnessed some technology, and basically what it was a wafer that you put on your tongue, and there was a wire. I don't know where the wire went, but basically this technology enabled the person to actually see through their tongue, through this sensor on their tongue, and they actually could regain their sight. And so there I am in the elevator, and I'm like, oh, hi, yeah, gosh, have you heard about this new technology that they have where you can actually get your sight back, and you just put this piece of a wafer on your tongue. I think it's hooked up to a camera, and you can see again. The response, oh, that's weird. I'd never do that. Tick tock, tick tick tick, going out of the elevator, and that was that. So anyway, I didn't consider her a bad person or anything. It's just literally beyond the ability to change her neurological firing. It would require a new thought, a new opening of a possibility to a different part of her brain that would say, you know what, maybe I'll try it out. Maybe even having the weird wire come out my mouth like that would be worth actually not using this cane, and a lot of other things that go along with it.
Well, and people have their reasons. We've talked about this before. People that end up with amputations, people that end up with surgeries that are not needed. You don't know where that person came from and how she got to where she is. There's a possibility that that woman being able to move alone, walk alone without an accompaniment with a cane might have been the most radical, amazing accomplishment in her life so far. And at that moment, maybe she was feeling like, woo, look what I can do, right? And the idea of something more advanced was like, well, why aren't you acknowledging my accomplishment right now? Well, you don't know. You just met her and you're offering opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. So each of us has these very specific reasons. We have everything that makes us up so far. And the reason why we are holding something so rigidly in place. So that's why this moving things 4 inches fascinated me so much, because we have to have a way to break out of that perspective. We have to have a way to look with fresh eyes. And more than that, we have to have a way to understand that the current moment we're in isn't actually real, that it's only us seeing through our eyes that are very, very specifically focused, that create a very, very specifically focused mind and a very, very specifically focused body. So The trick is to be able to shift that. Now, Cognomovement, we have a radical way to shift that. But in the moment, could you shift 4 inches? So let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network. And when we come back, let's talk about some of those things. And we'll share some stories of miraculous things that have happened by a simple shift in physical perspective. We'll be right back. UK Health Radio, take it away. All right, we're back and we're talking about a 4-inch perspective. I know someone whose life and death was a difference of 1 inch. Actually, probably far less than 1 inch. They were in a car accident in which they hit a fence, a wooden fence. The wooden fence came through the glass and hit them in the throat and in the head. But neither injury was fatal. Neither injury was actually even life-threatening because it missed the vital organs by this fraction of, an inch, centimeter, right? So in that moment, it's like Schrodinger's cat. She was both dead and alive because 1 second earlier, 1 second later, one moved to the left, moved to the right, position in her seat, position of the car, position of the fence, could have meant that her journey on this planet was over. But it wasn't. Because of location. Location is what changed it. Burt Goldman looked through a camera. Now, he had his ways, which is amazing, to get there to that point, to the idea. But what he really did was look at different perspectives through his lens. And he moved perspective in that case, right? An artist can take a picture or paint a picture, and the position of whatever is in that canvas or lens moved a fraction of an inch, 4 inches, whatever, up, down, makes a difference in whether it's a masterpiece or absolutely not visually appealing. But it's all the same elements. They're all there. But where they are makes a difference. So how do we shift our physical position, our physical eyes, our physical body, something physical in our life that allows us to see an entire new possibility?
We have our techniques of doing this, and we do it primarily through rewiring the nervous system. So those literal neurological connections can happen. Now, having said that, Leonardo da Vinci, all of these greats, Michelangelo, and throughout time, Einstein, they would not consider a problem solved until they released their perspective and took on another perspective, and then released that and took on another perspective. And with this, that's why groups, when solving a problem within a group, you can get a problem solved from many different perspectives and a complete 360-degree view. If you're in a place where somebody's not dominating the conversation, and then other people are allowed to have their own opinions, dissenting voices. Politically, in the United States and around the world, the silencing of opposition, don't you dare talk about this, an opposite point of view, that will dumb down a conversation. And that used to be really one of the great things about being in America, was that we used to have freedom of speech. Now it's been, it is a fraction of what it used to be. We still have freedom of speech, but it's been deteriorating over time. The point is that it's an intelligent way to go, to allow others to be able to express their opinions, whatever they might be, and be able to vet things out and look at different perspectives.
So let's talk about psychogeography. How can it be changed, a perspective, by simply moving in the room? This one is fascinating. This is based on an NLP technique that when you shift perspective, physically you shift perspective. So if you have an argument going on at a table, if you were to, for some reason, pull the fire alarms and everybody had to run outside and come back in and take a different place, you would see a radical change in the argument. So the view a person has through their vision out the door, the view the person has towards the wall, it will actually adjust how their brain is working and how the neurological impulses are going between the brain and the body. It depends on who's on your left and who's on your right. If there's somebody particularly annoying on your right, they're activating your left and linear brain. They may be irritating, the mathematician in your head. But if they move to the left, and now your right brain is like, oh, they're actually kind of interesting. I like the way they smell. It can change everything. I'll tell the story. We had this woman come in and she was a homeschool mom. And she, one of her kids was annoying the hell out of her. They just were. He wasn't doing anything right. He wasn't getting anything right. She was just annoyed with him. And in our sessions, we encourage people to really tell the ugly truth. And this kid was annoying her. Well, I knew that physical perspective would change the way she was reacting to him. And also I found that her anger, I could activate anger in her body by moving her eyes to a specific position. So, and that was the same position that her child was sitting in. If I remember correctly, it was on her right. So all I had her do is move that child across the table. I asked her, is it possible that instead of one sitting on the left and one sitting on the right, he could sit across from you? It was like the heavens opened up. Just the idea of it. Her face lit up and she's like, oh my God, that is it. So when I saw her again the next time, she had just moved the child across from her. And guess what? The child was doing way better in school. She was appreciating and noticing the child and all of their amazing virtues, which were always there. It was the movement in perspective, the movement in how her ears were hearing them, how her eyes were seeing them, and how her field was experiencing them. We were talking before I looked this up. I thought I had it right, but I wasn't sure. In 1415, there was an Italian Renaissance architect. His name was Filippo Brunelleschi, and he discovered perspective, the way to create linear perspective within artwork. It literally, at that moment, changed the way people viewed art and architecture. He went on to design a theater that in real time, as you look at it and as you move from seat to seat, you can see down a long street. It looks like a town. It's really probably not more than 12 or 15 feet deep, maybe 20. And it looks like a whole town. But as you move, the town moves with you. It is magnificent. So every time a person would go see the play, they could sit in a different seat and it was a different experience, a different play. So do you have any stories about that, Bill? Just shifting perspective, just shifting position?
I love that. I love that your you're utilizing that for a very practical method of helping a relationship out. You know, the stories I have about this are are much like yours. I tell couples I want you to literally shift positions. You have your old standard, you sit on this side of the table or off to to my left, and I sit to your right. And having them simply shift positions forces your eyeballs to the opposite direction. And we know that scientifically, where you look accesses different parts of your brain. So we're forcing that person to actually look in a different position. And with that, the conversation is new. There's a couple other really interesting things, and it has to do with everybody's iPhone. Everybody's got an iPhone. Probably the majority of people out there right now have this thing, right? This iPhone thing. Now, there's a Olympic athlete, an Olympic athlete that in their particular sport, they have like a little monitor of their progress, heartbeat, all kinds of data, speed, laps, all the things. Well, this is downward. And when this athlete starts to look down, they start to feel all kinds of negative feelings, like I'm not good enough, people are better than me, I'm not worthy, all kinds of things, which you're going to think an Olympic athlete, what are you talking about, Bill? These are incredible people. Well, once we had said, listen, stop that, you do your best and keep your eyes up. When you're looking down, this is a perspective. Downward is simply a perspective. And with that, neurologically, you are connected with the body. And, when you look down, when you see people cry, where are they looking? Down.
Yeah.
Down, typically. When they're depressed, where do you look? Down. When you feel bad about yourself, where do you look? Down. This is a neurological a way to stimulate a not so good feeling. Well, when the iPhone came out, I predicted that there was going to be a lot of emotional things that were going to happen that were not going to be very good. And people actually were going to do things to themselves and end things for themselves. And anyway, all that came to pass. But the thing is, if you're out there looking around now, noticing the people when you're at the shopping mall, when you're out anywhere, even driving in your car, look at the person next to you. Notice what they're doing. They're down over here looking down. So hence, this perspective is going to yield the myriad of not so good feelings. And with this Olympic athlete, what we did was, okay, eyes cocked up. Now, eyes up when you're winning. What do you look? Your eyes are up. Or even if it's like a divine experience, where's all the pictures painted? When somebody you're looking at the saints where they're looking up, this is a different part of your brain. So my encouragement here is a perspective. Perspective changes everything. It changes your athletic performance. It changes your attitude. It changes everything. We have this wonderful exercise that Liz Larson had brought into Cognomovement, which was this four-way exercise. When you do, the neurological exercise that we do, you change direction. Every time you change direction, you change perspective. It's literal, like it seems so simple, but it's the way our brain interprets the world. You have actual grid cells. There's a thing in your brain. There's place cells. There's also grid cells. This is how a rat knows how to navigate. Put a rat in a maze and you say, okay, rat, go. The first time, they go through the maze and it takes them a while. Put them in the maze again, boom, half the time, or they'll be racing through that thing. They know it's a grid cell. It is the same thing as when we wake up at night and know, hey, don't kick the trash can. Your brain is already set up with all the data. It's like a computer. It knows the data. Oh yeah, go here to the bathroom, that type of thing. But these slight changes in perspective change perspective.
They really do. All right, let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network. And when we get back, we're going to talk about how even the ancients used this four corner perspective. So let's hear from the UK Health Radio. Take it away. We're back. We're talking about a 4-inch perspective, like just shifting 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches, 4 inches, anything in your life has the possibility of changing every other perspective. So Bill was talking about grid cells in your brain. There's actually something else. Did you know that in our brain we have magnetite? In our pineal gland we have magnetite, and there's a halo around from the front of the brain all the way to the back, like you would wear a crown, of these magnetite crystals. And so some people say it's like the thorn of crowns for Jesus's thorn of crowns. But what it is it's very similar to things like birds that know where they are in the planet. They know where magnetic north is at any given time. Moss knows where magnetic north is. Humans are the only one who don't seem to be able to tap into this. But if you think about the ancient religions, druids, shaman, all of those, and you think about the rituals, there was always the shaman would look to the north and perform a ritual, look to the south, perform that ritual, look to the east, perform that ritual, look to the west. Literally, their brain, and usually that person in the group is quite a bit more sensitive. They're the one that is looking for new perspectives, new information, downloads, if you will, to help the greater group. They are literally changing their perspective and changing the way their brain is interacting with the Earth's magnetic fields. Crazy, right? But true. So we see this so often, and you think, oh, they're worshiping the North or they're worshiping the South. No, not really. What they're actually doing is accessing the Earth's magnetic grids and seeing things in a new way. Your shaman, your religious leader, you need them to lead the group. In other languages, it's called a vizier or a seer, the advisor. In Italian, it's the consigliere, or consigliere. And it's a person who is able to show the leaders, a new way to think about things. And shifting their perspective is a huge part about it. Going up on a mountaintop. How many times have we heard this in religion? You go up to the mountain to receive the information. Well, what's at the top of a mountain? A whole new perspective. You see the land in a different way. You don't have the noise of the people around you pulling you here or there. You look around and your mind and body specifically, and your vision holds an idea in a whole new way. Your nervous system manages it differently. This is what you need. You have to have your nervous system to manage things differently, to be able to think about it differently, to get out of your own stuck individuation. It's such an interesting thing, don't you think?
It really is. It is. It is literal, broader perspective. Broader perspective. You know, one of the things that is really important aspect of the work that we do is a broader vision, not only intellectually and emotionally, but this is actually, as is all things, the physical reflects the emotional reflects the physical. They're intertwined. And your expanded vision, specifically your peripheral vision, or you know, when you're letting your brain see more than you can with your focused vision, like when you read, you're focused. But out there, out towards the left, the right, up, down, and not with your focused eye, outward, you will have a different feeling. And the best way that I can really help people to relate to this is what I call vacation. You know, when you went on that vacation, you know, everybody's been on a vacation somewhere, and it doesn't matter whether it's Disneyland when you were a kid, or Paris, or some tropical island, or some beautiful mountains. But when you got there, do you recall your vision? That you had expanded vision. You were literally taking in a ton of data. You had a very, very broad perspective. It's like, you can't take it all in. There's so much. Oh God, you know, there's so much, and it's so beautiful. Oh, wow. That's available. That's available today. And it literally is where you start to release the resistance of slam down focused vision, where this, you can actually stimulate it through these exercises that expand your vision. A simple drive, literally a drive on the same freeway that you've taken 1,000 times, can be an absolute epic, beautiful experience once you understand and you open this up. Imagine doing the task that you do, and you have kind of that fishbowl vision. You know, it'd be like, huh, that's pretty amazing. Well, what do you think you're doing to your brain? You are stimulating positively your brain.
Yeah, let's give everybody something super practical they can do. In your house, or let's say it's your backyard or your office, something that you want to be a little bit different. Stand in the middle and let your eyes go down, like kind of look at the floor area. Turn to each wall and really reach into the room and look like you've never looked before, like you've never been there before, like you're scanning the floor for something you lost. And then move to the next wall and the next wall, 4 positions in that room. Next, go back to the original position and let your eyes go to neutral. This is a tool we use in session all the time. Let your eyes really reach into that room like you've never seen it before, with your eyes straight forward. Now your eyes are going to want to drop to the floor. Don't let them. Look at your room at eye level. Scan the wall from left to right. Now move to the next wall. Scan the wall from left to right. Move to the next wall, left to right. Notice the parts of the wall that need painted, a scratch that wasn't there. Notice maybe how beautiful it is. A shimmer on a curtain that you never noticed. Next, go back to the original position and let your eyes move up. Scan the part of the room where the ceiling and the wall connect. And do it again. Look all 4 positions. And when you're done, see what you noticed about that room. Notice how you feel about it. Notice if an idea came for how to move it that might be way more comfortable, that might help you release the tension in your body. You can do this with any room, with any space, with anything, any emotion, any feeling, any problem that you have, because you will literally be changing the way your brain is interacting with the magnetic field on the planet, with the room, and you're also accessing different places in your brain, different opinions that your body, brain, consciousness already have that you just didn't know were there. It's a pretty amazing and fun thing to do. I'll give one more. If you're in a relationship with anyone, your child, your kid, your dog, someone in your office, when they enter the room and you know there's a certain time of day that they do, here's what I want you to do. Get up from wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I want you to get up, meet them eye to eye, and say, hey, it's so nice to see you. Just that. Move in the room, look them in the eye, and greet them really nicely. Notice the interaction that happens from that point out. Just that tiny thing, I promise you, will change something in that relationship. All right, Bill, we only have about 2.5 minutes left. What else?
This exercise, if you do this exercise that Liz had just given you, and bring to mind the big issue in your life. This is whatever that issue is, something I want, something I didn't get, whatever it might be, and hold it in mind. Hold it in mind, and then do this exercise as you hold it in mind. But take your time, maybe 4 or 5 minutes facing north. Flip around, 4 or 5 minutes facing south. I'm not asking you to change your mind. You feel how you feel. It is what it is. Just allow yourself to be there. 4 or 5 minutes east, 4 or 5 minutes west. Now, for some of you, you might be like, hey, I don't know, northeast, southwest. I'm a little challenged in that. You can find that on your phone. There's a compass there. That would be the first thing. And the other thing is when you do this as well, if you do this again and hold in mind the thing that you really love, that you really want, there'll be a direction where you really feel it. Anyway, that's whole nother topic, but cognomovement.com, get your essentials package. This is the starting place to start rewiring your brain.
Yeah, I mean, we teach you how to do this in about 1,000 different ways and instantly. So if you like this, please share it with somebody who needs it today. And for everybody in UK Health Radio Land, be safe and be well, and we'll see you next week.